Okay, now we're going to get into the good stuff. Quadratic formula. And some of you know the song to this. I do not sing, so I'm not singing you the song. If you want to go find it, that's great. Unit 5B, Section 3B. And we're going to complete the quadratic formula. We started it with the other unit section, and we're going to finish it up today. Okay, so this is the quadratic formula. I will tell you this is one of the only formulas you will need to memorize for the SAT. So make sure before the PSAT or the SAT to memorize it the night before. Make sure you get it in your brain. Go listen to the songs if that helped. There's lots on YouTube channels, okay? So x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of the discriminant, which is what we did yesterday. And I'm going to put that too. Discriminant. I always have to sound that out. All over 2a. And let's remind ourselves the discriminant equals b squared minus 4ac. But we're always going to find the discriminant first and then put it into our formula. Okay? So, here's the steps for using quadratic formula. Number 1, make sure the equation is equal to 0. This does not work if it's not equal to 0. You'll get the wrong A, B's, and C's. And you're going to do all this work for nothing then. Okay? Second step, find A, B, and C. You know how to do that. That's nothing new. Third step we did yesterday, find the discriminant. Which is b squared minus 4ac. Fourth step, identify types and number of roots from that chart we did yesterday, or in the other section. Type and number of roots. Now this is where this does get a little long. 5, we're going to substitute values. Into the quadratic formula. So steps 1 through 4 we did yesterday, or on the last section. I keep saying yesterday. It could have been yesterday. I don't know. This is what I like to do. Substitute, then simplify as much as you can, and then solve. And sometimes you have to solve twice. So I'm going to put solve equation twice when necessary. So solve equation twice if necessary. Okay, so I'm going to use these steps to do, I think I have 2 examples, and then we'll do some more examples in class, of course, but these are the 2 I'm going to give you. Okay, so I'm going to use these steps right here to do the 2 examples. So if you need to pause and write it down, go ahead. So let's do example 1. And I have f of x equals 5x squared minus x minus 4. Now this doesn't look like it's equal to 0, so I'm going to just say, well, instead of f of x, I'm going to go 0 equals 5x squared minus x minus 4. We want f of x or y to be 0, so I'm replacing it with 0 if it's not there. First step. So there's my first step. My second step, identify your a, b, and c. A is 5, b is negative 1, and c is negative 4. Third step, time for the discriminant. Okay, remember the discriminant is b squared minus 4 times a times c. So I'm just going to do that part right now. Again, leave the parentheses there or you're going to get the wrong answer. So see what I'm doing right now? I'm just copying the parts that stay the same. The b, a, and c, I have to put in what the values are. So for b, it's negative 1. A is 5, and C is negative 4. If you don't use the parentheses in this problem, you're going to get the wrong answer. Okay, because you're going to get negative 1 instead of positive 1. And so the discriminant in this case is 81. So now we have the discriminant. Great. Step 4 is to tell me, according to the discriminant, how many and what types of roots. So I'm going to look back at that table I gave you in the last section, and because this is a positive discriminant, we have 2 real roots, and use the word real. We have 2 real roots or 2 real solutions. All right, now's the next step that's new to us. Now we're going to continue doing the quadratic formula. So let me write it down. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of the discriminant, and I'm going to simplify discriminant, all over 2a. And so in step 5, you're going to substitute. So x equals, you know what? I'm going to use some parentheses. B is negative 1, so that goes there. Plus or minus the square root. Well, the discriminant we found up here. Here's my discriminant. So I just need to put 81 in there. All over 2 times a. Well, what was a equal to? 5. So I'm going to put 5 in here. So that's step 5, is to substitute. Step 6 is to simplify. So let's simplify this as much as I can. Okay? Actually, I'm going to write below because it's easier to work down instead of left to right. So 6 is to simplify. So I'm going to look at this and I'm going to simplify it as much as I can. So it's x equals, well, negative is a positive 1, plus or minus, the square root of 81 is actually 9, so I'm going to put 9 here, and 2 times 5 is 10. Okay, so my last step is to solve, and this time we have to solve it twice. And here's what I would recommend. I'm going to write it 2 times. X equals 1 plus 9 over 10. And that line tells us we have to do what's on top first. So you can't just punch that straight into calculator unless you put parentheses. And the other thing is 1 minus 9 over 10. And so this first one is going to be 10 over 10. So my first solution is 1. And the next one is going to be, this is negative 8 over 10, which is simplified to negative 4/5. So there's my solution. You can write it like that, or you can do the brackets. Now I found my 2 real solutions. If I were to graph this parabola, it would cross at 1 and negative 4/5. Okay, now let's do one that doesn't come out quite so nice, so you know what to do with this. So our second example won't come out quite as nice. And you'll see this on the homework too sometimes. So I have 11x squared minus x equals 3. Not equal to 0. So first step, let's make this equal to 0. So I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides. And so I get 11x squared minus x minus 3 equals 0. Now I can start my a, b, and c. A is 11. B is negative 1. Be careful, it's not x, it's negative 1, even though it's invisible. And c is negative 3. Now we're going to do our discriminant. Our discriminant, again, is b squared minus 4 times a times c. So I'm going to leave the parts from the formula that I need and replace the variables with numbers. So I'm using lots of parentheses. B is negative 1 again. A is 11, and C is negative 3. I put that into my calculator, and my answer comes out as 133. What does that mean? Well, it's positive. So since it's positive, we're going to have 2 real roots. Okay? Now I'm going to do step 5, which is start your quadratic formula. Let's write our quadratic formula down. X equals negative b plus or minus square root of the discriminant, because we already know that, over 2a. And step 5 is to do all our substitutions. So again, x equals negative, and b in this case was negative 1, plus or minus the discriminant, which we found out was 133. Remember right here, 133. And then all over 2a. Oops, I can't remember a, so I'm going to go back up. Oh, it's 11. So that's, oh, I did the wrong color. 2 over, okay, that's steps 5. Step 6 then is to simplify it as much as you can at this point. So at this point, I can do x equals 1 plus or minus, I don't know the square root of 133, so I'm going to leave it like this, over 22. Okay, so this is our radical answer. So you're allowed to give me And in fact, on the test, you got to give it to me 2 ways. This is our radical answer before we finish it to get a decimal. So you can put that on the line. And then the next thing is to get your decimal. So we're going to solve. So what we have here is 1 plus root 133 over 22. So that's our first x, and then our second x is going to be 1 minus root 133. Notice the parentheses I'm adding because you need to do the top first before you do the division. And if you don't put those parentheses in the calculator, then the calculator is going to divide root 33 by 22, then do the subtraction with the 1 or adding. So I want you to put this in your calculator, and what you should get, and this means approximately 0.57 and approximately negative 0.48. If you're not getting that, try again. And if you're still not getting it, don't erase your calculator. Bring it to me and show me what's happening, and I can probably figure out what keystrokes you're messing up with. Okay, so that's quadratic formula, and you just need to practice it a lot.